Hey, welcome to the 24/7 Marriage Podcast. If you're not watching this on YouTube, Shannon was making like hand gestures and poses and all that.
Just trying to live things up.
Trying to liven things up. So
You just went and picked up a tea from our favorite tea and spice shop here in Prescott, and I have these cute little jars that I keep them in. And I poured my tea in the wrong jar, and somebody lost their mind.
I didn't lose my mind. I'm just like, you poured it on top of my tea.
It was an accident.
When the jar even has a label on it.
Well, I probably didn't have glasses on, but
She goes, "This looks right."
It just seemed like your irritation with me just seemed out of proportion, and I don't know if it was the end of the week or what it was, but I was like, "Whoa, Javier." You're right. I should have put glasses on. I swear that I had my jar of my tea in my hand.
Well, also your tea has like a different color to it.
But
and this is like,
so all I was going off of is that I had very little left. And that other jar had very little left.
Don't mind the jar that was right next to it that had your tea in it.
I was just sure that I
grabbed
the right jar. But you were like, "Oh my gosh, Shannon, how am I going to separate these teas?" And I was like, "Well, maybe we just invented a new
The thing
tea.
is not the thing.
So what was the thing? Why were you so irritated by the tea?
I have no idea. It's probably just I have no idea. I honestly don't.
You gassy? Like, what was it?
But the point is, it's not like it caused an issue or like.
But I did ask you. I was like, are you okay? I said, "I'm really sorry. That totally my mistake. I should have read the jar better." But you were like, "Oh my gosh, Shannon." It was like the end of the world.
I was like grabbing the tea and opening the trash can.
Which I bring this up because
it was probably because it was Sunday and Monday was coming,
and this is
just
how
a lot
Javier
was
gets.
going through my mind. And when this get done today,
Oh no, let's talk about
Monday.
Sunday Javier, Sunday evening Javier.
Not all the time.
Oh
no, sometimes I actually, and I'm being better at this of like downloading my day and the night before, but sometimes I'm like, going into Monday and like I got this and this and this, and I let it get to me, and I internalize it all, and then I get quiet, and
I call you pensive Javier.
Yeah, and I get pensive.
Javier. And it usually happens on Sunday night.
There are rhythms in my life that I used to have. I'm brought them back, and I've been a little thrown off lately. I just think after the holidays, and then like we've been up in Prescott, which we've been good, been working, but also the evenings aren't always like our own. We've been seeing our grandson and the kids, and so. But for me, I'm learning that I have to at least by 9 or before wind down. Like that means I'm not on my cell phone. I'm reading. I use an amber light, so not bright lights. I'm basically quieting my spirit. I am winding down. I'm not seeing technology, and I find I sleep better when I do that. If I stay up and like past 10 and I'm watching a program or I look at my phone, then it actually is not helpful. That's the last thing on my mind, and then I'm like, it's not giving me a restful sleep.
And here's something that the marriage ministry or just marriage help community doesn't talk about much is that bad sleep will contribute to being off in your marriage. Like it creates you're not on, you're not rested, you become irritable with your spouse. Like a good night's sleep is crucial to your family and your marriage dynamics. And one of the biggest proponents is, these things.
Yeah.
Because
Cell
of that
phones.
blue light.
Yep.
It's actually scientifically it's horrible for our eyesight late at night. It doesn't let our brain rest or settle down to get into that REM sleep. So
a sleepy spouse makes for a sleepy marriage.
That doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Because you just contradicted what I said. Because if you're sleepy, then you're getting a good night's sleep.
No, a sleepy, like you're sleepy. You're not getting enough rest.
That's not sleepy.
Yes, it is.
That's what the word means?
Yes.
If you're sleepy?
Yes. You
What?
think I'm sleeping means I got enough rest?
No,
No.
no.
I'm sleeping means I'm tired.
Oh, I'm
So I'm saying
sleepy.
a sleepy spouse makes for a sleepy marriage, a
All right.
tired marriage.
It's not something I'm going to put on a t-shirt anytime soon, Javier. Okay, moving
Sleepy
on.
spouse, sleepy marriage. SPSM.
Okay, moving
I'm,
on.
I'm saying that because there like from what you said, it's true. Like that people don't recognize the importance of rest and your body and giving yourself that time and that wind down. So I don't know. You find what works for you, but that's what helps me, and I notice it in my sleep. If I wind down, and man, I am really working this year to not be on my phone, like to
Super not
have
helpful to me.
less screen time, um, and it's not a desire to be disconnected from people, but it just for me it becomes and that's a funny thing. Like it can be a distraction, even though the fact that I don't go on social media that often. And she asked me to go on Instagram more and
I know.
comment on what we do for 24/7 marriage, and I don't. So I need to do that more, that part for work. But apart from that, like I don't know, we're just in a generation that's so disconnected, and we rely so much on our phones and so much on the screens and so much that we've lost even just some of that curiosity and that place of like we don't need to actually research or look for anything. We just go online or we just ask Siri or we ask Google, and we don't like walk outside and be like, oh, it's going to be a warm day, and not look at the weather and depend on all that, but like use our senses and use like engage in different ways. And I don't know. We just
I hear you, Javi. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. It sounds too deep for today
okay.
for me
Well, we're gonna go deep
because
anyway. So
because honestly, it could be sunny right now, but a thunderstorm could move in by noon. So my weather app would tell me that. If I look outside, I'm not going to know that.
I understand that. We'll talk about it in another one, but another episode. I was
Javier,
listening to a podcast of Carlos Whitaker, who was on with John Deloney, and he wrote a new book about this, and I think he was right in a lot of it about how the culture that we live in, and we've lost the ability to be able to truly connect and be aware. And he actually did a study where he tested his brain, his cognitive skills, and all that, and while being on the phone, all that kind of stuff. And then he was off it for 2 months. No screens for 2 months. For him, it was TV, it was everything. No screens, period, for 2 months. Um, his ability to recall information, his cognitive skills,
yeah.
the testing he took, everything improved dramatically. Like he went to the top like 10% or like 1% of people in terms of recall and memory and cognitive skills, like all of that, simply by because he had to use all of that without having the phone in his hand to do everything for him. That's all I'm saying. So that being said, um, yeah, I mean, all those things can become an escape for us, and
For
and
sure.
sometimes people escape to those things when they're not okay,
Yeah.
and they find other things to escape to when they're not okay. Um, and
Well, your phone is a dark rabbit hole and
yeah,
it'll take you anywhere you want to go.
but there is a song we're gonna play for you really cool,
You can only play 6 seconds of
whether
it.
you like him or not. Let me see. Dear Lord, can you help? No, that's not it. That's the wrong one.
Oh my gosh.
It's this one.
Why didn't you pass the intro?
I am not okay. I'm barely getting by.
That's all you can play.
He say, "I am not okay. I'm barely getting by." And so, what we wanted to talk to you about today is, what do you do when your spouse is not okay?
Is this going to be a part 2 to I'm Not Okay? Because we did a podcast in October on this.
In October, so you're telling me I'm still not okay?
32 years, you haven't been okay.
That's not true,
You've had moments of being
Shannon.
okay.
To say I haven't been okay for 32 years, that's a stretch. Okay,
Pookie,
that's a stretch.
n
That's a
well,
stretch.
you,
You're not okay, Shannon, saying that. I'm
You
not okay with you.
you've always had an existential crisis in a, tiny hole in your spiritual bucket, but it's okay. It's why I love you.
One of the things that we always are on this podcast is vulnerable, it's truthful, and always authentic in everything that we have conversations around.
Yeah.
But I think it's an important conversation, and likely one that we're gonna revisit. Um, we're here on the precipice. When this comes out, I believe it comes out close to our 32-year wedding anniversary,
Oh my gosh.
and we're going to be doing a podcast. Look for the podcast on that as well. That's going to be that will be coming out. Just what we've learned in
Yeah,
32 years.
tune in for that episode because Javier is going to tell you 32 things that he loves about me, right? Okay.
Is
Maybe
that what
not.
it was? Okay. Um,
No.
but what do you do when your spouse is not okay? And when we say when your spouse is not okay, it's not you just saying, "Oh yeah, they're not okay. They don't do this." I'm talking about when when your
There's a
spouse is
crisis.
navigating whether there's trauma from the past that continues to weave itself through their life and into your marriage, and if there is just some family of origin, some wounds, some hurts that are there. If they're physically not okay, maybe there's an ailment, there's a sickness, something that they're navigating in the
Or an
season
addiction.
that's
Yeah.
bringing them to a place of it could be even depression. They're not sure how to navigate this. It could be an addiction that you might see alcohol or drugs or could be pornography,
Pornography.
whatever it may be. But that's the underlying. What you see on the surface, but there's something deeper that's underlying, right? Because we always know that those things are always just symptomatic of something else that's going on. When that check engine light comes on, that's not the light. It is something's going on deeper that you need to do the work on. And but what do you do in those seasons when your spouse is not okay and you're not getting at times what you had hoped for or what you had expected or what you desire in your marriage? And many of you right now are resonating with this, that I've navigated this with my spouse, and there's seasons where I have felt alone, or I felt empty, or I felt we haven't been connected as much as I'd like. What do you do in those seasons? Um, as a spouse, to walk alongside, support, and also for that person who might be going through something. Like, what do you do when you're not okay within your marriage? And the reason, like, Shan's just sitting there thinking, so I guess I'll continue because
Oh,
she didn't jump in. The reason we're talking about this is, and I hope you hear me when I say this, and I think actually all of us probably can say these same words, that I am not okay. And for me, that means that there's certain times in your life where you got to bring something to the surface that uh, you're like, really? Why couldn't you really bring the revelation of that or bring that to the surface or bring that issue up 10 years ago, 15
mm,
years ago? Why now? Seriously, at the age that I'm at or that you're at, but like, why now is this coming up? Why is this coming to the surface? Why am I navigating this? And I believe there's moments and seasons where that happens, and then even God allows that to come up because it draws you into deeper dependence upon Him, but it also is like now you have the strength and maybe the maturity to be able to walk through that in a healthy way. Uh, at times, you have the people around you to help you navigate it. The strength of your spouse in that season to walk with you in it, even if they don't really know fully how to do that well. And and that's my case. Some things coming to the surface that just have been from my past trauma that have been very difficult and hard to process, but also recognizing how they have weaved themselves through most of my life and thought patterns and behaviors. And even now, it's hard to talk about it without choking up. So I'm trying to do my best. Um, but how do you operate when when you're not okay? Um, it doesn't, and for those of you listening, I don't know what type of roles you have, jobs, position, maybe you're in ministry. I don't know what it is, but whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through doesn't disqualify you. Now there are certain things, right? If you're a pastor of a church and you're in the affair at that moment, yeah, that you're disqualified in that sense. Um, but the fact that you've got some struggles and difficulties or trauma, or you're experiencing an illness or whatever it is, it doesn't disqualify you from what's in front of you.
Mhm.
It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you even a bad spouse. Um, you're a hurting person. You're broken and you're going through a season of brokenness, and it is what you do with it. You either go down into a depression, or you go to a place that's unhealthy and not good, or you say, "What is this revealing about me and what God wants to do in me,
Mhm.
and about how will we be strengthened as we walk through this together?" But when you're not okay, I want to tell you it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to not be okay in that season. But and I'll talk more about me, but like for you, what do you tell spouses like when your spouse is not okay? How do you walk with them?
Well, I'll get there, but,
Okay,
um, what is it about what is it about you what you went
or you
through
bring it back to me.
that, made you feel like you were disqualified? Like, I've never heard you say that, and that hurts my heart so bad.
Well, there's things
Um,
in the role that we have
is it like the enemy
in the work that we
speaking
do,
into
like
your life?
the story and the narrative and the lies in your head is like, well, if this is true about you, then you're disqualified.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Like if you're going through something like this, then how are people going to receive from you?
Mm,
If you're going through this, how will people count on you? You've always been this guy for people.
mhm,
I am the guy typically, and this came out through therapy, is like I carry hope for a lot of people. Not that I'm the hope and I'm not the answer, but what I mean by that is I see it in people. And if they can't see it, like I want to bring it out of them. I want to bring the best out of them to see them fulfill their purpose and their calling, experience all God has for them. Like at the same time, I'm walking around with a sandwich board over me that has the words, "Am I okay?" Like asking people that question in my life all the time. Hey, am I okay? Am I okay? Like because I need them to tell me that as opposed to knowing, no, God says that I am, and this is who I am. And even though I'm going through this, it does
yeah.
not change anything about who I am and about the strength and the capacity of what I have to be able to offer.
Um, I do wanna share about, like, how a spouse walks through that. I had a very immature, don't touch my microphone. I had a very immature, view of, what that term repressed memories meant, and I didn't ever, um, take time to understand it, look into it, 'cause I don't have any well, I do.
You
A
probably do.
actually, I do because one got revealed many a couple years ago, but I when people would say, 40 years later, I discovered this happened to me, and I was like, "You like, really? Like, you just forgot that that happened to you?" And learning and growing as I have and leaning into people like Dr. John Deloney and other, people in that world of just psychology and things like that, there are things that your brain and your body do to protect you. Like, your body knows how to protect your heart and your mind and your emotions, and sometimes it you will put something, on the back shelf in your memory, and it doesn't get revisited until much later in your life, or something triggers it and brings it up, and for there it was basically you were out on a walk and something got triggered, and so I had to really lean into that because it was 31 years and I'm just learning something about you, and first of all, it breaks me to my core because the, it just I love you so much, and to know that, somebody hurt you, like, it just wrecks me. That being said, you and I've walked through many seasons of our marriage. The first 5 years, we walked through depression. So we've walked through a lot of things. In this season, I don't think it's any accident or any mistake that my 10-day reboot for wives didn't come out earlier. Like
Yeah.
it's just coming out right now. And because of this whole thing that God dumped on me about your marriage is not just a relationship, it's a ministry. And I'm walking through this, that this is my ministry and Javier is my mission field. Like, you came to me with this information, and it was as if two people are on the battlefield and somebody shot you. So my job in
It's
that
to drag
moment,
my bloody body back to
yes,
safety.
wasn't to just stand over you and be like, "What's wrong with you? Like, get up. Like, what are you talking about, repressed memories?
That
What's
would be
wrong
the
with
old
you?"
Shannon,
It
like,
would be.
"You need to get over it, like, we got
And
things to do."
get your gun and let's get back on the battlefield.
And there are some people who deal with that, like, they don't wanna invite their spouse into something because they know their spouse is gonna respond in a way that is not gonna be healing, that's not gonna be open and
Yeah.
receptive, that they're gonna feel demeaned for having that feeling, that emotion, and that like, if that's you, like, give space for your spouse to not be okay.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not what you expected. I know it's difficult. Speaking of myself, but also speaking to those that are listening to this, like, I get it's not what you anticipated your spouse would have to go through something like that, or navigate that, or carry that weight, or go through that illness, or manage that addiction. Like give space for them to not be okay. What I mean is like it's not an excuse for them to be, hey, they're not okay and they're being abusive verbally or physically. Like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, like, when they're in a difficult season and you're not maybe receiving what you expected or anticipated or hoped for in that season, how I want you to tell them how can you be okay as a spouse, supporting your spouse, to walk with them through that? What does that look like?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize your marriage is your mission field, and that my dependence and my salvation does not come through Javier or my marriage. My ultimate dependence and salvation comes through the Lord, and what I do unto what how I serve you in marriage is unto the Lord.
Yeah.
So ultimately, how I walk this out, I'm doing this before God. This isn't I don't put on a show and be like, "Look at me, everybody. Like, look at what a good wife I am. Look at me serve. Look at me hold Javier up," and post a reel or make a post about it on social media. Like, no privately, nobody really knows what goes on in our marriage, because there's parts that we wanna keep just for ourselves. Like, I we don't need to share every detail
Yeah.
with social media. So there are these days where, I pursue you, I'm in prayer, and everything I do and how I love and serve from just basically cooking you a meal to, cleaning up to how I give you words of affirmation, that is a service unto the Lord. Like, I am doing this because that is what God has asked of me. So, are there days that it's hard? Do I get frustrated? Do I feel sad? Do I feel depressed? Heck yeah. But I also have built relationships where I have people in my corner
Yeah.
that I can lean in on and call, and there's probably just 3 or 4 of them, but I can be like, "What we're going through
Yeah.
is really hard right now."
Well, what you're saying is that they part of how you navigate is you have people around you that you trust to
Yes.
point you in the right direction, not to say, "Oh gosh, I can't believe." No,
None of
seriously,
them. None of them would say that.
you need to bail, or like you shouldn't have to be going through all of that. Like the right people to speak
Yeah.
the right things into your life to
Yeah.
support you to
Yeah.
and point you in the right direction.
Yeah. But it's just this practically living out every day of of recognizing, and this goes back to when you had depression. So at year 18, you hit a really bad depression. And I remember taking a shower and crying like I always did, because that was my only time to, like, really cry and cry out to the Lord. And I remember asking myself, if my marriage never changes and it just stays in this place. Now, there's no abuse, there's nothing bad. It was just that my husband was in a deep depression, and you're not promised better. You're not
Yeah.
promised that it will be all sunshine and roses by, day 30 or why did you just move my hand?
You're moving the camera when you move. The
Oh, I am. I didn't know that. Okay, now I
Keep
gotta
going.
sit still. So I'm not promised anything. So what I asked the Lord is, if nothing ever changes, Lord, give me the steadfast heart to love and pursue and be the best wife I could be for Javier. So I've had to revisit that in year 31
Yeah.
of, I'm not promised that that we'll get over this hump,
Yeah.
that we'll get through this. I believe that we will get through it, but I don't know how many weeks, days, or years, or how much mud or how many valleys we'll have to go through. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm called, and you're my ministry, and this is
Yeah.
my mission field.
But I think what you said is very important. Like, just and not to cut you off, but like, you don't know. Like, you on this call don't know. Yes, what the valleys may be, how difficult it could be, what may come up, the illness you may face, the struggle, the difficulty, the past that comes up, the repressed memories. You don't know, but you've made a decision. You've made a decision that I will love, walk alongside, and minister to my family, even to my husband or my wife, even in the seasons where I feel I'm not getting what I had hoped for, or it's not what I anticipated in this moment. But I want you to answer that. Like, how do you navigate when you're not getting every need met that you hope would get met in this season because you're walking with a spouse who really can't give everything in that moment?
Well, the only thing I can do is go back to year 18, and every physical need that I had did get met, and I never went without. And you said the same in the first 5 years. You poured out and you were giving out, but there are needs being met? Like, are you talking about, like, I think people listening, you have to ask yourself, are you talking about superficial things?
Well, people will say,
Like,
"Well, what about me?"
uh,
Like, I know they're going through this. I know it's hard, and I want to love them, but
well,
what about me?
okay, then this is what I have to say to you. This is a hard, fast truth. Marriage is not about you. Don't get married if you're not willing to lay down your life for one another, because that is full stop what a covenant is. You are saying, I will lay down my life to serve this other person,
Even if,
even if. And so me going through this, um, I I've had a roof over my head, I've had food to eat, I have friends and family who love me, radically love me, and are there for me,
but
and
emotional,
children. Yes, emotionally, there has been some seasons where I don't feel like I'm being poured into, but that's where your relationship with Jesus has to fill that bucket. Like, you were never meant to fill my emotional bucket all the way. You were meant to pour into it, but it being full comes through my relationship with Jesus. And that's how you know if your motives and how you're facing a very difficult crisis or season in your marriage is. Because if it's all about you and you're being consumeristic, you really have to check yourself and check your heart. And yes, there are times when I've come to you and I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm pouring a lot out
yeah.
into serving and loving you, and I feel a little depleted. I don't feel like you're
Yeah.
checking in with me enough.
And then the spouse may feel like, I don't want to bring it up because I don't put more on them. I don't want to address it because then they'll feel responsible for it. And what happens if you're that spouse and you got a hurting spouse and you don't do that? Like, what's going to happen is, like, you're going to, yeah, you are going to get frustrated and even a little, like, upset and angry at the fact that they're going through this and you're missing out on stuff. As opposed to you still in that season, you have a marriage still. Like, it's like
Yes.
that big tree in the middle of the house. Like, you can't avoid it. It's there. Like, it's going to impact everything that you do if it's growing in the middle of your home. And so
So,
to
can I say this really quick? How come when our spouse is in a crisis, how come we see it as a detour instead of an opportunity? Why
yeah,
is it we're like, oh, everybody, hold on. My spouse is going through something, or we're going through a difficult time, or going through a season, or he's dealing with this
yeah,
problem again,
yeah,
or she's
yeah,
navigating this again. You
yeah.
wouldn't say that if your spouse had cancer.
Well, simply for the fact that they've made it about themselves
Yes.
and their needs and think like anything worth fighting for is going to be uphill.
So a lot of,
Anything.
yeah, and a lot of people might think that this is cheesy for me to say, or uh Shannon, you're just more spiritual than I am. Promise you I'm not. But this season that we're in, I see this as my opportunity, as my mission field to serve Javier, is to serve him so that he can experience freedom and restoration in Christ. Because when I come alongside you and help you receive that freedom, it benefits both of us.
Yeah.
And it is my greatest gift, an opportunity to serve you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way in one podcast, like we always say this, like every single podcast can go on and on about, in this subject. It's like for some of you are hearing like, well, my spouse is going through this, and if I bring it up, I'll put more weight on them. Like I just mentioned, I don't want them to carry this, and you still need to be able to come and talk about how you feel. Like Shannon just did a few weeks ago, and came to me about how she's feeling, and she was like, "Just feel bad even bringing it up because you're already carrying a lot. I don't want you to feel like this is your fault and
Yeah.
put more pressure on yourself." And she knows like that I can do that, but I had to be able to say like, no, like she's right. And it doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me that I'm not capable, that I'm not able as a husband. It's true. And I recognize it and I need to work on that. It's hard in this season. So there's grace. There has to be grace, 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 and more grace for your spouse. But you still have to be able to bring some things to your spouse. And if you do it well and you do it in a loving way, and you bring truth with grace, you're ultimately, if your spouse is internalizing that, that's something they have to work through. They're like, I'm a bad person, it's going to cause me to go and drink more, it's going to cause me, like, you putting that on me, I feel so bad about myself, and they take themselves down into a pit. That is on them, not on you. That is not on you, especially if you've done it. If you belittle them and you're this, like, that's different. But if you've walked it out well and you're saying, I want to walk alongside you, I just need to be able to share this with you because it's hard for me in this season as well. They have permission to do that. Don't be like, you're so inconsiderate. Like, I'm going through this. How would you bring me that? No, it's impacting them too. So give space for that, and you make a
I think
choice
that's
and a
important to say.
decision. Well, you're gonna have to make a choice and decision about where that leads you to. Does it make you like, she's right? That's hard to hear. I need to process that. If you're going through therapy, you talk through that with your therapist. Like, you process that. Okay, how can I do better in that? And there might be something that's added to what you're going through. And they're not expecting you to like, okay, fix it and then better be fixed by tomorrow. They're sharing with you, and your response is like, I hear you. I need to do better, but I need some grace in that because this is really hard for me right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel I have the capacity to be able to do all that, but I so appreciate you sharing that with me. Like,
And that has been important. You sharing with me how you feel and how you know how it's impacting us in our marriage, or just me personally, it doesn't fix it, not fixing it, but it reminds me, oh, okay. Because sometimes you're like, is the person aware of how much real estate they're taking up right now in the marriage? Which
I take up a lot.
sounds selfish and self-centered, but like, just you saying that, like, I know that this is a lot for us to navigate right now. It just goes, okay, he's aware of it. Like, it just gives me like the I can keep going. Like, he's not so internalizing everything that he's not aware of our marriage, of our relationship, of our family, of our dynamics. Like, there's an awareness that helps that other spouse. Um, it's like if somebody had terminal cancer, you know that that weight it puts on that family member or that spouse walking through taking care of your spouse. So being able to say, know that I'm a lot of work right now. I know that
Yeah.
I can't do anything for myself, that you have to serve me, that you
Yeah.
have to help me get dressed, that you have to help me do all these things,
Yeah.
like, so that it doesn't go unnoticed. That goes so far with a spouse.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, if I probably need to do a whole podcast on like if you're the spouse who's not okay right now, how do you walk through this? But like this has just been touching the surface of a season that we're experiencing. But also, like if you're that spouse and you're just feeling the weight of it, of your spouse going through something, navigating struggle, difficulty, um, like reach out, talk to somebody that you trust, that you value. They'll point you in the right direction. They'll point you to God. I'm not telling you, oh, forget. I mean, what they're doing. Because listen, they might just look at the superficial things that are going on, like maybe they're drinking or whatever it is, and they don't see the true hurt and the pain and what's beneath that surface. And so, find the right people to surround yourself with, and at the same time, um, we hear you that it's a difficult season when what you expected or what you anticipated is not what you're seeing or receiving in that moment. Hang on, draw closer to your spouse. Let it be something that becomes an opportunity to draw you to one another as opposed to something that brings separation and brings division. It is your choice. It is your decision on how you're going to approach that. Um, you have a decision to make about how you will minister to your spouse in that moment. And you are uniquely qualified in that moment more than anybody else to love your spouse radically, to pursue them, and to sit with them in the midst of that. And that alone is incredibly healing. And I can promise you, on the other side of this season, God will meet every need that you have. I can promise you, on the other side of it, you will be stronger. I promise you, on the other side of it, that God will use your story for His glory. He will. And so keep, keep, keep pursuing God, your spouse. Get the support that you need that's around you from people, right? Whoever it is. But also recognize that this is your greatest opportunity to love and to walk with your spouse, even when you're not getting what you had anticipated or expected or desired in that moment. This is the beauty of being able to lay down our lives for one another, to image Christ, to die to self. And there's so much beauty when you do that for your spouse. And again, I promise you, God sees you. He knows exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what you need. And don't fall in this myth that we shouldn't have problems, we shouldn't have difficulties. No, this is, like we tell our couples at boot camp, this is where the promise that you made at the altar is proved out. It's in the valley. So if you're in that valley, know that we are with you. You are loved, you are seen, and man, the climb up that hill to the peak is incredible, difficult, beautiful. And when you get there, man, God does some incredible things, but then you might have to go back down to get to that next mountain again. That's just, and that is
Yeah.
just life, but it's how you respond to it. So I'm not okay, but God is working in process. And maybe you're not okay, but He loves you. He is with you. He sees you, and we are for you, and we love you. And there is hope. Listen, we're going to end it just like that. That remember always in your marriage, you don't have to,
You get to.
you get to. Have an incredible week. We'll talk to you soon. For listening to the 24/7 Marriage Podcast. Help us expand our reach by rating and leaving us a review on iTunes. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. For more information on the work we do and how to support 24/7 Marriage, head on over to 247marriage.org and click on Partner with Us. Until next week, remember, in marriage you don't have to, you get to.